Well, Didier Rabino, thank you very much for coming to join the podcast.
Thank you, Chris.
And today we're going to talk about lean management, continuous improvement, and nerd out on a lot of lean management.
I love it.
Philosophy. So before we get started into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and what makes you an expert with lean management.
Sure. So, well, that's a long story, but my origin, originally I'm an engineer. We studied business at the business school. I studied in France, and I studied also at Indiana University. And I worked for several manufacturing organizations, Steelcase, office furniture in England, in France, and in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I also worked for Andersen Windows in several facilities before working in healthcare and doing the same thing as I did with manufacturing, helping organizations lead in a way that improve processes, enable people to drive improvement and to have a higher sense of purpose in what they do, and help leaders to lead with clarity and vision. So. So I've been doing that for, I don't know, like more than 30 years now. That's crazy. I would say if experience is what you get by making mistakes, I think I have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
and I'm happy to share what I've learned so that others don't do the same mistakes.
Awesome. So how did you find your way to Wilmington, North Carolina?
Yeah, so we moved, my wife and I moved in March of this year. And by the way, we love it. We saw the snow this morning. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Not for a long time, but my daughter and my son, in fact, now they live in Durham. So I have 2 children living in Durham and 2 grandkids. And I still have another daughter who lives in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Okay.
So we wanted to be. We were looking for the Goldilocks location, not too warm, not too cold, not too far away from the beach, and not too far away from the kids and the grandkids.
So had you heard of Wilmington before you moved here, or was it just let's look at the map and this looks interesting?
Yeah, so I'm an engineer, so I had a matrix with locations and. So we had Savannah,
a whole grading
Charleston,
system?
Yeah, so whole grading with 6 or 7 factors. And so that's, and we experimented, so again, the engineer. Yep. So we experimented living a week in Savannah, in Charleston, in Beaufort, and in Wilmington. But as soon as we arrived in Wilmington, we knew that it was a place. I love the architecture of the city. I love, living on the river, and I don't know, it's a nice, the right size, and everything felt good. So nature as well, we love nature, so it was a perfect place for us. We have absolutely no regret. This is it, yes.
Fantastic. So part of your scorecard or your metrics was entrepreneurship or innovation in small business on there? Or?
Part of that, we were more looking at, I think, the balance of life, not being in too big of a city. I don't like traffic jams, and people complain that there's a lot of traffic here, but that's nothing to do.
Go drive around the Beltway in DC.
That's you cannot compare the two, I think. But that was part of that. I needed to have an airport that was nearby, and ILM is growing. There's traffic is going up, and so that was part of it. I needed to have an access to an airport because I support organizations not only in the region but also in Canada, sometimes in California, in Pennsylvania, a little bit everywhere. So I needed to have an airport that was, not too big, not too small, but have enough connections for me to travel when I needed to.
It's so interesting that you say all that, because I think Wilmington is just that. It's it's just this great environment, this great culture. We've got a good enough airport to be able to get to where you need to be, and And I think maybe an added bonus is maybe what you're discovering now is the amount of entrepreneurship and small business and innovation and just growth that our community is experiencing.
Absolutely. I was amazed by all of the connections, the network that you can have. So,
Yeah.
With 1 million cups, with Chamber of Commerce, with SBDTC, all of these elements, and I met so many people. I don't know how many cups of coffee I had. I had one with you.
Yeah, we had one.
And I had one yesterday again with someone else. I met so many people, and it has been absolutely amazing to immerse myself in the community. Despite busy work days, and so that's fantastic. With the Cape Fear Manufacturing Partnership as well, which we have an event this week. We have the oyster.
The oyster roast this Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
It's like every day there's something, it seems, or every week there are some things to.
There's a lot going on.
Yes.
Especially this time of the year with the fall. It's the time for all the oyster roasts and fall parties and stuff like that.
So yeah.
So all right. So tell me, what is lean management like in the most simple, basic terms? Because I think people have like a negative connotation of what lean is. Where they think, oh, we're just cutting costs, get rid of people. We need to be lean.
Yeah, lean and mean.
Yeah. So
that's I think, unfortunately, the term lean was not a good choice for what it is.
Yeah.
So the origin of lean is, in fact, the Toyota production system that was started to be developed at the end of the 1800s by Sakichi Toyoda.
Yep.
In fact, the origin is interesting because there's a lot to learn about that. Sakichi, at the time in Japan, there were small family businesses and very tiny family businesses, and his family had looms, so they were weaving, they were making fabrics, and he recognized that his mother and his sisters who were using the looms had a lot of pain with their wrist, and it was a very physical work, and he started to say, okay, how can I simplify the work in order to alleviate the pain? And he made, I don't know how many, maybe more than 20 patents have been developed in order to simplify the use of balloons. So the shuttle can move using gravity, so you can use your feet, etc., etc. And he created, so that was, the first thing was to simplify the work in order to make it easier for people to do it. And eventually there were other inventions, say, well, now that we have, can we put some automation, okay? And instead of using one loom, maybe you can use 2 or 3. But if you do that, when the thread breaks, we don't want to continue making defects, so the machine needs to stop. And that's where he created, which is called the Jidoka, which is automation with a human touch, meaning if the thread breaks, stop everything. Defect may happen, but do not pass.
What term was that?
The Jidoka, which is Jidoka, which means automation with a human touch.
Okay.
So that makes the machine intelligent, I would say, some smart and the smartness in the machine. So the machine doesn't continue making defects; it stops.
Right.
And that was a big revelation and big in terms of the thinking. Things are going to happen in processes. But one thing that we should not do is pass defects. You need to stop, and we say stop the line. So that was the evolution. So the essence of lean of the Toyota production system, it is continuous improvement, always continuously improving, with the respect of every individual, meaning through the participation of the people who do the work.
Right.
So it is. So if it's just cutting costs, that's not lean. That's I would say that doesn't. If you don't involve people, if you're not creating additional purpose in the days of people's work and what they do, that is not lean. That's not respect for every individual.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to go back that far. That the main driver for this, this improvement was for the comfort of the people that were doing the work. It wasn't, hey, we need to do this because we could produce more and make more money.
Correct.
It was there was an issue that the folks that were using the loom, their wrists were hurting, and it was not good. And so, how can we make that better?
And we say, at the end of the day, you want to reduce time to do something, which is productivity, correct? Mm-hmm. But time is the shadow of motion. It's not about reducing time, it's reducing the motions. Mm-hmm. And as a result, you have less time to do the work.
Right.
So, and it's not go. It's okay, let's look at the work and how much physical or sometimes intellectual burden people have. Can we simplify the work to make it easier to learn and easier to do physically and intellectually?
Yeah, and more repeatable and more systematic ultimately results in theoretically higher quality output as well.
Yeah. Especially when you start involving people to say, hey, how can you save 2 seconds? What will make your job easier to do? Yep. Okay. How do you make sure that you are receiving good quality products, and how do you make sure that you are providing good products? No. And if you have an issue, what is the process to immediately call for help? So the leadership, instead of reporting to leaders support you in doing the work. Mm-hmm. So there's a social aspect. If you just change the processes, you go that far, and the sustainability may not be there. However, if you change the process, if you improve the process with the people who do the work, mm-hmm. and change the management system at the same time, now you can get, I would say, profound change, profound improvement, and sustainable results. Mm-hmm. So sustainability can only be achieved through not only changing the process, but also how we manage the process. It would be foolish to say we just need to change the process and I can keep managing or leading the way I was leading before.
Yeah. So that's what leads me, when I talk about lean management, I talk about it as a philosophy.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of what you're saying is, yes, there's very systematic and specific things you could do to improve a process, but the way that we think about it, the way that we approach it is just as or even more important to the long-term sustainability.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is the hidden face of, if you look at the iceberg, this is the bottom of the iceberg.
Right.
That's what you don't necessarily see. You can see the processes, but the leadership aspect is key. So, and you're right, in terms of philosophy, I would say in terms of principles, there are some principles of operational excellence, like leading with humility. Mm-hmm. If I'm not leading with humility, I'm going to have some issues eventually, okay? Because if I believe that I have all of the answers, if I don't need to go how the work is done, that's not going to end well. Yeah. If I don't provide constancy of purpose in order to create alignment, that's going to not end well. Right. If I don't respect every individual, okay, by believing that they have infinite potential, that's also not going to end well. So they are embracing scientific thinking, eliminating problem at the source. All of these things are principles that should be embedded in the systems, in your operating system, management system, improvement systems, in order to drive excellence with sustainability. Mm-hmm. And that applies to any organization. Absolutely. So it started in manufacturing, but you find that in healthcare, in the service industry, in any type of organization can benefit, because as long as you have a customer, yeah, exactly. Okay, and customer needs, that applies. These principles applies.
Well, I think, in my opinion, manufacturing is the typical poster child for lean management, because there's so much tangible things that are happening with, like, you can see the process, you can see the people, you can see the output.
Yeah, and I know quite a few CEOs of healthcare systems that brought their senior executive team to manufacturing organization. And I was a plant manager at the time. I would say I moved to healthcare when the CEO of a healthcare system visited my plant. I was plant manager at Andersen Windows, and she wanted to show to her senior executive team lean in application. Yeah. And that was a way to show that was manufacturing. And so we spent more than half a day going through all of the systems, and she said, "Oh, that was really cool because you had a really big problem, and we were able to see how the problem was managed with everybody being calm, everybody knowing what they were supposed to do." And following week, she called me and said, "Hey, do you want to work with me?" I say, "Okay, healthcare seems interesting and challenging enough for me, so let's go."
So how long were you working in manufacturing before you switched over to working in healthcare?
I've never abandoned manufacturing, but I started in manufacturing in '91 in England, and I was recruited in healthcare in 2012.
Okay.
So, yeah, that has been a nice change, and it was interesting because I was not at the time concerned to move from manufacturing to healthcare because, again, this is, even if I don't know anything about healthcare, you still have people, process, purpose, and just looking and understanding how the work is happening. Yep. When people who do the work have an issue, what's going on, and how do leaders provide constancy of purpose and alignment to the goals and to the vision? How do they develop their team members? So it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
But tangible in manufacturing, not as tangible in healthcare.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about some of the similar, thing, or like that what might be similar. So it started as the Toyota production system, and then the term lean management got coined at some point.
Yes.
But then, how does Six Sigma fit into this?
Yeah.
Total quality management.
Yeah. World-class manufacturing.
World-class manufacturing.
Theory of constraints.
Theory of constraints, which I'm really.
So can we confuse even more?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's all so similar, but it has its own little unique things.
I think I would say Six Sigma is a set of tools that, let's say, engineers will use, or some engineers will use. Yeah. And they will solve problems. They will solve the 1% of very complex problems. 99% of the other problems, can be solved through simple plan, do, check, act, or plan, do, study, adjust philosophy that can be taught to any employee. So it took us, I love the history of the Toyota production system, but it took us in the US, in the Western world, until, I would say, 2004, 2005, to understand that TPS, Toyota production system, what we call lean thinking, to understand that it was more than process, but it was management.
And was GE and Jack Welch, were they the pioneers of, or one of the first?
Motorola, GE, 3M, they were, Motorola the first one, I think, in Six Sigma.
Okay.
But now you look at Motorola, you look at GE, you look at 3M, there's a lot more lean than Six Sigma.
Got it.
Why do you say that? Six Sigma doesn't really engage with people who do the work.
Got it.
It's not approachable. Cannot do, I don't know, they use Minitab, they use design of experiment. These are things that only a few engineers can use.
Right.
So you should not, I don't think that it's not very healthy to separate the thinking from the doing. People who do the work should have the opportunity to improve their work because they feel the small problems. They understand what is in their way to be successful.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And I've also heard the term Lean Six Sigma.
Yeah, that's a good marketing name.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's I won't cite the name, but that's a consulting organization that coined that. And
okay.
So.
Got it. So I remember I had the opportunity to work in manufacturing. I think I told you for ABB.
Yes.
And I was actually in Europe and had the opportunity. That's how I learned lean management in Six Sigma and a practical experience. But I remember one of our goals as leadership and management was to help the people on the shop floor understand, what do we need to do today to be successful?
Yeah.
And like that's kind of how we started each day, was with a Gemba, a meeting, and say, okay, our goal for the day is we need to produce 11. And the way we got from 11 was, really it started with a strategic plan and said, hey, here's what our revenue and budget targets are for the year, breaking that down into different product groups and so on and so forth, and then trying to achieve, sustainable operations. Yeah. We need to produce 11 today.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about...
Well, I think, so leaders are responsible to provide the target.
Yeah.
And after, they need to provide the conditions to achieve this target, correct? So am I giving you the tools, the equipment, the resources, the supply, the encouragement, the feedback for you to be successful at achieving the target? And that is at every level in the organization. I like Larry Culp at GE Healthcare use the acronym TAPE.
Okay.
TAPE, target, actual, please explain.
Target, actual, please explain.
So that is very simple to see. And this is the simple framework that you can use to say, hey, Chris, what is the actual? Well, what is the target? Well, we are supposed to deliver 100%. For example, I'm going to use the example of a healthcare system that we helped. So we are supposed to have 100% of surgical cases to be delivered to surgery without defect, without anything. Okay, what is the actual? Well, we have on average approximately 10 to 15 defects. Okay, so what is the number one issue? Well, missing items is the number one. Okay, what have you tried in order to reduce with your team? So, well, we try to do this and that. Okay, what have you learned from your experiment? We learned these things. Okay, cool. What are you going to do next now that you've learned that? Well, that is our next experiment. Oh, and when can I come and see what you've learned? That is again, it's a bit of a more elaborated target, actual, please explain the TAPE. Okay. And I'm going to provide the coaching in order to think in a scientific way to eliminate everything that is in your way to achieve a target. So, which is eliminating some of the waste, but maybe in the process.
So how much of being a leader at that level is about just being really good at asking questions versus knowing what the actual answer is?
It is developing. Leaders own the thinking process. They don't own the thinking content.
Okay.
So the process of thinking, what you are trying to develop, what you are developing as a leader is a way to think. And like the TAPE, okay, that Larry Culp uses, it's the way of thinking. But I'm not inserting myself to say, hey, Chris, have you tried that? Or did you try? Or you should try that.
Right.
What do you think? That's leading the witness, okay? But so that will be, you want to leave the thinking content to the problem solver, but you forge a culture of going after process improvement in a certain way. And now you have, culture is the sum of collective habits, and you create the culture of continuous improvement by developing a framework of thinking.
Yep. Very interesting. Yeah, it's amazing, when I'm in the room with certain people, they ask really good questions, and they're not very difficult or earth shattering. It's just straight to the point, and it just makes you think, and you're like, I didn't even think about it like that before. Or how do I answer this?
And I think in terms of, for improvement, it takes two. It's like tango, okay? You need two people. Yeah. One who is going to help you think through it, okay? That's the actual coaching. I'm going to help you think for yourself. I'm giving you the pattern of thinking, but you are doing the thinking. I'm not doing it for you. Yep. I'm just guiding you through logical steps to go through problem elimination.
Yep. So we've defined, lean management came from the Japanese and really the Toyota production system. And really, lean is a philosophy on thinking. involving continuous improvement. So if I'm a small business owner or an entrepreneur, and let's say I'm a service company or something like that, what are some tools and applications, or how can I start thinking about continuous improvement and sustainability and quality, in line with continuous improvement?
I think, the first thing is, going back to the tape, to the target is, I think Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you are going, you may end up somewhere else. Okay?
Yeah, that's good.
So what is the target? Where do you want to go? Where are you now?
Yeah.
What is in your way? And what is the first thing that you can eliminate in order to get there? What is the first experiment that you are going to, because change is only a set of experiments. I don't know if it's going to work until we try it, but it's clearly identifying what is the gap between where you want to be and where you are. And after identify, I think that this is the next obstacle, let's try to eliminate this thing with an hypothesis that if I do this thing, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so that's one, in terms of thinking at a leadership level, any type of organization, that's the first thinking that you want to develop. The second thing is that until you look at the process, you don't really know what's happening. And by looking, it's really paying a lot of attention to what's happening. I've had workers on an assembly line that had been working for 10 or 12 years, side by side. They've never seen really what the other one was doing until we recorded what they did and put them in the room and say, hey, how do we define the very best method to do this work? But maybe none of you has. It's a combination of the two. And they were like, oh my gosh, Jim, I didn't know that you were holding the screws like that. Or, but really pay attention, to all of the motions, what the hands are doing, and sometimes where the eyes are going. And it's a really deep attention to the process and eliminate everything that is in the way.
And deep attention to the process, but very deep attention to the details.
To the details, yes.
The devil is in the detail.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do with healthcare executives, so CEOs or C-suites, we follow a nurse for half an hour, and we ask them, we group them by two with a guide, say, you are going to write down everything, every time that the nurse is running into an issue. Or the medication is not ready, the order is not signed, etc. On average, every 5 to 7 minutes you have the nurse is going to run into an issue. So it's just observing that, and they say, oh my goodness, I've never seen that before. And that is their healthcare system. But because it's not in their, a day of their life to look at what's happening. And after say, well, did they solve the problem? Did they just walk around it? And if you don't have an improvement system, how do you want them to be able to solve the problems? So we are going to repeat each other, every single day.
Yep.
So that's really stop and just watch.
Yep.
Everything that is in the way, that should not be happening.
So for a small business, a great starting point is, where do I want to be in 3 years?
Yeah.
Like, what's my plan? Where do I want to be? Some kind of idea. Work that back a little bit from, okay, in 1 year I need to be here, and then kind of breaking that down into quarterly or whatever goals.
Yes.
That's lean philosophy right there.
Yeah.
Is planning and budgeting and goal setting, right?
You start there. You need to start with a direction and be focused on one thing, because many leaders, they like to have many goals, but there's so much capacity. You need to know what is the one goal that you need to go after. What is the key driver? So do you need to drive your top line? Do you need to drive your bottom line? Do you need to improve your cash flow? So looking at account receivable, account payable, and so what is it? And after we can translate even these financial metrics into process metrics.
Right.
If it's cash flow, I'm going to look at the working process. Okay, how long does it take to go through the process? I'm going to look at the inventory level. Okay, how many turns do we have, and what? So and financial goals are only, I should not say goals. Finance is just a consequence, correct?
I used to say that I still say it, but when I was in the factory in Bulgaria, I was going and talking to people in every department, and they'd say, you're the controller. Why are you asking me? I says, everything that happens in this facility has an impact on my P&L.
Yes.
And so I want to understand so that I can explain it to, the regional whoever who's going to ask me a bunch of questions. I need to know why this is happening.
Yeah, it's a reflection of what is really happening.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So
I don't know why I got so excited about that.
maybe the financial aspect.
yeah, from the financial aspect. Oh yeah, so I mean, so financial, to your P&L or cash flow or financial reporting, I mean, that's really a score, a great measurement tool,
to test your hypothesis.
To test your hypothesis, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is a reflection of what's happening.
Yep.
So we need to be careful that inventory is still in the asset category, so that's not really an asset in terms of process.
Right, exactly.
So we need to make sure that there's alignment between finance and operations. Say, okay, it may look good on the balance sheet when it's on the asset category, but in reality, it is draining, the throughput time and the response to the customers, and creates a waste of. It creates separations between supplier and customers.
Yes. So before I jump to that, because that made me think of something, is that bringing it back again for a small business, another thing that I've learned is like you got to start somewhere, right? And so starting with a plan, putting some goals together, that starts your continuous improvement cycle, right? Because
correct.
I mean, in a sense, hey, I've got a plan, I've set some goals, okay. I'm at the end of the quarter, I didn't achieve my goal. Why? And starting to tape, maybe,
yes,
like
the target
this is my target, this is why didn't I hit it?
Yes.
And then you start going down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
And then
I think the role of a leader, I see four, how does a leader create value?
Yes.
It's alignment to the vision and the goals, correct?
Yes.
That's the first thing, you start there. Number two is, because you cannot do it alone, is develop your team members by providing them with challenges. Small challenges, but they can exercise, build some muscles. Okay?
Yeah.
The number three is support daily improvement. What are we going to do today that will be better than yesterday, and what is our plan to even do better tomorrow? And the fourth element is, what is my commitment to self-development? I need to grow as well. I need to learn. So these are the four elements. And as a small business, I've helped a one-person company.
Yeah.
She was doing billing for small healthcare, labs and so on. And her husband one day called me and said, "Hey, I saw you on LinkedIn or somewhere." Say, "Liz, my wife and I haven't been on vacation for 12 years. Can you help us?" Okay, tell me, what the problem is. They say, she's busy all the time. She tried to recruit someone, and she was spending more time trying to explain what was supposed to be done. And it was more work for her than doing it herself. So we've been stuck. And so I went to the house, and I spent 3 hours with Liz, and we looked at her key processes, and we identified where defects were created, and defects were even created before she touched the material, the information that she was treating. And we said, okay, hey, let's try these 4 or 5 experiments. And so we had 4 projects. Her husband was an IT guy, so there was a little bit of automation to do. And that's it. That was 3 hours. A couple of weeks later, I checked back with her, and she said, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing. Now I see problems everywhere in my kitchen, etc." and she's been, but that was helping to say, okay, what do I see problems? Because sometimes people don't even see the problems. If you want to solve them, you need to be able to see them, and you become numb to the existing problems.
Yeah.
So that was a one-person organization, 3 hours, and it was
How cool.
yeah.
Did they go on vacation?
And they went on vacation.
Job well done. So you started to, at the end of the last bit that we were talking about, you started to talk about the separation between the customer and the supplier. And there's a term, voice of the customer, that I've heard a lot.
Yeah.
Tell us about voice of the customer and how that fits into the philosophy.
Yeah, and you start with, and it is interesting because we take the voice of the customer, the external customer, the internal customer. Okay? So the external customer is, the focus has to be, you are in business in order to satisfy a need.
Yeah.
Okay, so and every time, every day, organizations make commitments to their customers. They know it, they are explicit or not, they make commitments, correct? If you go to an organization, but a service organization, maybe your perception is, and you were just before at an Apple store, you expect the same level of service, correct? They didn't tell you that they are going to offer the same level of service, but you know that they I faced a really good experience. I expected somewhere else. Okay, so that is a commitment that is maybe implicit or explicit, but that is understanding this thing. First thing is, create value for the customer. That's number one, one of the principles. Some organizations, by the way, failed doing that, and they ended up in big trouble, okay, creating fake accounts, etc., in finance or other.
Right.
So that starts at the microscopic level or at the workstation level. Is if I'm if we are on an assembly line, it's how am I going to position what I just made to you? Which orientation do you need it?
Yep.
In order to minimize motions and to minimize thinking as well. Okay, if there is variation, now I need to think, okay, where is the end of this thing? Correct. So that will be really looking at what does my customer need, internal or external, and how do I, provide this, satisfy this need as well as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about it from our profession and what we do as fractional CFOs. Using an example, let's say one of our clients wants to, get a credit line or take out, some debt to, acquire some assets. We've worked with banks enough to know what a bank needs.
Yeah.
Right? If we just, so think about the timeline, right? Client asks us, hey, I want to get a credit line. Okay, I reach out to the bank. The bank says, okay, takes 2 or 3 days probably for them to get back to us. No, but then they say, okay, Chris, we need this. Okay, then we take that list, we send it to the client and say, hey, all right, we need you to put this together.
Yes.
That could take weeks, because they're running a business and they don't have time to put together, their PFS, there's all of these steps where the bank, I have a customer here, but the bank is also my customer. And by understanding that a bank is going to need a PFS, a debt schedule, 2 years of tax returns, and some other stuff, that we just send that over to them the first time, and we reduce lead time by weeks, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Example.
Yes. Yeah, and how do you make this knowledge? How do you codify this knowledge?
Yes.
So when Chris is on vacation, the process is not going to suffer.
Yep.
From from the lack of tribal knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
That's,
So, have you seen the movie A Beautiful Mind?
Yeah.
And you know how he's just seeing numbers and all this stuff? When you walk around in normal world, are you just constantly looking at problems and oh, there's a bottleneck, there's a constraint, or can you turn it off?
No, I cannot turn it off. Like Liz with her kitchen, it's you're doomed. Once you see it, you see it forever, yes. And I apologize for that when I teach someone.
I remember when I was going through my education, let's say the practical hands-on of learning lean, I remembered that happening, and I came home one day from work and my wife and I were cooking dinner,
Oh yeah.
And I
Don't go
said
there.
something, and like she was just like, "No, like this is not. We're not doing
so
this."
there are boundaries that you don't want to cross. Okay.
Do you think that lean philosophy is something that is like innate within people, or is it something that can really be learned?
Oh, it can be learned, definitely. And there are so many situations where people will be stubborn and not wanting, and you provide them with an experience that suddenly changes their beliefs, and they become the biggest advocates.
Yes.
And they become the new teachers, and that is absolutely fantastic because you have created now a chain of learning.
Yes.
I think this is the most fantastic thing in my job. It's create this capability to teach other people.
Yeah.
To see the processes and leadership in a different lens and make a big difference into people.
You mentioned something really interesting, the change management. How does change management and leading people through change fit in with lean philosophy?
Yeah, so there are models like the ADKAR model and so on, but I really, I think people are more hesitant. I think they fear more uncertainty than change. It's most of the times they're okay to go there if you have providing the understanding of what it is. And the other thing is, it's how do you create? I think experience forms belief. And once people believe in what you are doing, change is very easy, correct? So what is the experiential learning that you provide in order to change the belief? Okay, so everybody has different beliefs based on their own experience. So it's being respectful by providing this belief, but it's by this experience that will change the beliefs. But and sometimes we do what Kaizen workshops 1 week. Kaizen, and you see the people with crossed arms on day one, and little by little we give us experience, and they are like almost jumping on the table, saying, "Okay, let's try this thing." And so it's. I think you have to provide the experience to change the beliefs, respect the beliefs that they have based on their own experience.
Got it. What would you say your most rewarding job or activity or experience has been in your career?
There are several of them. I take one in manufacturing, one in healthcare. And it's always changing, developing people as you improve processes. They go together. Continuous improvement with respect for people. In manufacturing, that was in 1999, 2000 at Steelcase, where we had to double the capacity of a manufacturing line that was making work surfaces in laminate. And we are making maybe 1,400 or 1,600 work surfaces per day. Okay, and we had to double it because the product was going up crazy. So we could double the investment, which was I think $12 million. That's a lot of money, and have exactly the same performance, which was not bad. Okay, Steelcase is a very efficient organization. Or we could think a different way, and we applied another lean methodology. I had a good coach, and I had a good team willing to learn and try, experiment, and fail. Fail is a first attempt in learning, okay?
Nice.
But trying,
I like
okay?
That. Yeah.
And we reduced the throughput time from 2.3 days to 45 minutes.
Holy smokes.
And with
that's like completely...
it's
like,
totally different universe, yes.
Yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah, and with that, you have quality improved by I don't know how many, double digits, and productivity improved, and more, the morale of the team, because you can see you have a connection. Again, we say that inventory separates people, working side by side, providing feedback to each other, learning together. So that was the really breakthrough change, big change. And by the way, we only spent $4.2 million instead of the 12.
Unbelievable.
Okay. And the second experience is in healthcare. That was a few years ago during the pandemic, where I worked with a healthcare system in Pennsylvania. So the CEO, who had already done lean with another healthcare system as a CNO at the time, and she was the new CEO. She had been CEO in this large organization, 20,000 employees, for a bit more than a year. And she said, okay, I need a coach. And she knew me from the state where she was coming from before, from Minnesota. And we talked and said, okay, let's create a management system that is going to change the behavior, that is going to change how we lead in order to have different type of results. And the organization had already some good results. So we redefine everything, how they do strategy deployment, how they manage their hurdles, their daily hurdles, how they escalate problems, how they solve problems, how they share information, absolutely everything through the senior executive team. So they had a lot of work. And that was during the pandemic. So the stress was very high in Pennsylvania. Now, okay, last year they achieved the quality prize from American Hospital Association, which is the best, in terms of quality that you can have in the US. And they reduced by 45% serious harm to the patient. So, and with that, okay, they have a AA Finch rating, they have, top 100 best place to work, everything, all of the dominoes,
Yeah, it's amazing how that all aligns, huh?
So that's one, so the manufacturing example is based on really looking at the process. Healthcare was looking at the management system. I didn't touch any process, okay? So you have this, so these are, so your sense of purpose when you see how you can make a difference and in people's life, one way or another, it's, I love it.
How do you think, kind of in closing here, how do you think that people can use lean, the philosophy of lean management and continuous improvement just to generally improve our communities and the places that we live?
Yeah, it's always looking at what do I want to achieve, and after it's running experiment, it's being humble to try things. Small experiments, okay, everything above 0 compounds, it's a small experiment, but it takes humility. And that's maybe sometimes, leaders have issues or with, humility. It's saying, hey, I need to learn, and I don't know what's going to happen, or it will not be an experiment if you knew what was going to happen.
Right, exactly.
So I don't know what's going to happen, and that's it. But it's always, you have a target, okay, you have an actual, what is in the middle, and running experiment, test of change with, if I do this thing, then I think this is what's going to happen. Did this happen or not? If it did, what do I do with the change? Do I keep the change, or I learn something that maybe we can do even better, so I run another? So it's how do you manage, this experiment? It's always, it's the application of the scientific thinking to anything that we do.
Very cool. Very cool. So in closing, how, if people are interested in what they've heard, how can people get in touch with you? And
Yeah, so I have my presence on LinkedIn is, I would say I post almost every day or several times a day. And so follow me on LinkedIn. And after my website, it's leanmanagementsystems.net. Leanmanagementsystem.net. And so you'll find me, and I love to help people to not only improve processes, but change the way to see processes, so you have sustainability. And I think a good leader, you are not a leader until you develop leaders who can develop other leaders. That's the essence. So how do you develop this chain of learning to make a difference in people's lives?
Fantastic. Well, we'll put your LinkedIn and your website in the show notes for the podcast.
Sure,
so
thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chris.
I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, me too.